This podcast is brought to you as part of the 4H Create Interreg Atlantic Area project. The 4H Create project explored how collaboration and end-user engagement could help support innovation within the creative and cultural sector. The project had a particular interest in engagement with Generation Z, those who are now between the ages of approximately 10 and 25. Limerick Institute of Technology here in Ireland was one of the project partners. Today we are going to speak to Cliona Maher, the Artistic Director with Clonmel Junstion Arts Festival, a festival that takes place every summer in the town of Clonmel in Ireland, about collaboration within and across the creative sector. Cliona, it's lovely to have you here. Could you tell us a little bit about Clonmel Junstion Arts Festival and your role within it?
Clonmel Junstion Arts Festival is a multidisciplinary arts festival. It was founded in 2001 by Gallo Glass, a professional touring theatre company based here in Clonmel, as a celebration of touring theatre and accompanied by live music. It has evolved over the years to include a range of other disciplines and has had a strong participatory element. My title is Artistic Director, and the primary and probably most enjoyable and stimulating part of my role is programming the festival. I choose the theme of the festival and then program a range of events that work towards that theme. There'd be a mixture of commissioned work from particular artists or groups, open calls where we invite responses to the theme, and choosing touring work that fleshes out the plan. However, I'm the only full-time festival employee, so my role also includes overseeing the financial side of the festival, writing grant applications, handling invoicing and VAT returns, and working with the treasurer to manage cash flow. There's also the marketing and working with the board to find corporate sponsors. As we get closer to the festival, more seasonal staff come on board. We have a production manager who works with the festival year-round, but on a very part-time basis for most of the year. And there are currently 12 of us across production, technical, marketing and social and PR.
As an annual regional arts festival that includes a broad range of art forms, as well as a broad audience demographic, how important is cooperation among members of the various art forms?
An interesting thing about working in a town as opposed to a city is that there's a lot of natural interconnection between the professionals and semi-professionals in different art forms. For example, when I worked in Dublin, the theatre crowd, the dance people, visual arts, classical music, they're all quite separate between both the practitioners and the audiences, in fact. Whereas here in Clonmel, there's a lot more overlap, and I think it lends a richness. And you have, for example, visual artists working on theatre or with musical collectives, and there's a natural, organic way that happens, I think, in a town. And it's something that I encourage through programming for the festival.
As an artistic director of a festival and previously of an art centre, what do you perceive are the challenges or barriers associated with collaboration and co-creation among the various actors and creative disciplines that make up the creative and cultural sector?
I think most of the challenges and barriers in the sector, in the creative and cultural sector, especially in the fine arts end, relate to resources. That's the obvious financial one, but also that everyone's time poor. I think that's the main difficulty. I find that people are very interested in working together, but it's difficult to find time to allow the conversations to really develop and projects to unfold. It's one of the many negative aspects to underfunding in the sector, where arts organisations and individual artists are trying to carry out so many different roles. There are only so many hours in the day and a lot gets lost in the development area.
Can you speak more to this, noting strategies or solutions that you may have found helpful?
The advantage of a festival is that you're deliberately bringing people together, both audiences and artists. And I find that people carve out the time for it. It's the focal point of the cultural calendar. Some very interesting projects get started either to answer an open call or a commission, and then other people attend and respond to the work. I want to programme an element of discussion as part of every festival. This year we have our Visionaries Symposium. And in an ideal world, we'd have more regular sessions during the year as well to encourage co-creation to develop.
There is a difference between collaboration and co-creation, as indeed there is a difference between co-creation among creatives and co-creation among creatives and their audiences. Can you speak of such collaborative or co-creative experiences during your career that you feel were particularly successful?
My background is theatre, and it's just organically a collaborative, co-creative sector. Even if you're doing a one-man show that you wrote yourself, you need a technician to operate the lights. You need a stage manager. In theatre, I'm a huge fan of Augusto Boal, who was a Brazilian theatre practitioner. He developed a style of theatre known as forum theatre. The audience, who are styled spectators, watch a play, discuss it, and when it starts again, they can shout stop and replace the protagonist. It's a hugely empowering style of theatre. I've worked on a lot of forum theatre projects, both here in Ireland and in France, where I lived for 14 years. And I'm always fascinated by the originality of thinking that comes when the audience are empowered to react directly to the play they've just seen. It's a challenge for the actors, but a very rewarding one. I'm delighted that Boal's close collaborator and his English translator, Adrian Jackson, will be one of the participants in our Visionaries Symposium. I'm really looking forward to his sharing his thoughts and experience with us.
What advice would you give to creative and cultural actors looking to collaborate and co-create?
I suppose my advice would be to be patient with yourself. It's not always going to work. You find that some people are more in tune with you than others, and there's that fantastic bounce of ideas where the project develops in an exciting and organic way. Sometimes people work together so well and it just adds layers to the co-creation. But other times, because you can have very strong personalities in the arts, the collaboration can be a lot more difficult. The work can still be really interesting, though it can be pulled in the direction of the strongest person in the room, and it can leave others feeling a bit underappreciated. I remember a theatre director very early in my career who used to act out the parts for the actors. He wanted very specific line readings, and there was very little room for an actor's interpretation. The play worked really well, but we all hated the rehearsals.
You mentioned earlier how the Junction Festival has evolved over the years and now has a strong participatory element. How does that participation manifest itself in the festival?
I worked on the very first Junction Festival back in July 2001. I was Gallo Glass Theatre Company's Outreach and Education Officer at the time, so my career has really come full circle, and I managed the workshop programme that accompanied the theatre and music. One of the central ideas and objectives of Junction, and in fact what informed the name, was that a festival is a bringing together, and we wanted to find ways for visiting artists to engage with the audiences and with local artists and arts groups. Over the years, this participative programme has grown to include large-scale visual arts projects, collaborations with community groups and schools, and the idea is that participation can take place both at a group level as well as for individuals. This year's participation projects are part of our Creative Ireland programme. Be Creative Clonmel invites kids and teens to try out a number of different styles of art, both plastic and digital. There are video tutorials on abstract art, portrait drawing, and video and photography for phones. They've been sent to the primary and secondary schools to be included in the material that they send home to their pupils, and they're available to anyone on our YouTube site. And we're inviting kids to submit their work to be included in both the shop window galleries that we'll have around town in July, as well as being featured in our online digital festival channel. The second project is in association with Music Generation Tipperary. We started with the idea that a lot of kids start an instrument, but if you're playing on your own, it's very easy to drop once you get to secondary school and the workload increases. So we're trying to put together and support some ensembles to get them into the very enjoyable creative process of playing together and listening to each other. And we have 2 bands under the Clonmel Rocks banner. This was more of a challenge to convert to a digital format than the visual arts was, as a major disadvantage of all the online platforms is that you're restricted to one channel. People can't play together. But our structure, which we think is working, is for each performer to have a 30-minute individual Zoom tutorial with their tutor, and then to have a group tutorial where they have a band meeting, they're choosing their name, their logo, what the t-shirt will look like. We're talking about the video, and they also do a rhythm tutorial together, and that's been very successful. And then we're setting up a recording studio, temporary festival recording studio in Clonmel, and the kids will go in and record their individual tracks, and we'll also shoot a video that will be transmitted during the festival on Sunday the 12th of July at 3:00 in homage to the late great Clonmel VJ Vincent Hanley.
In terms of the Generation Z cohort, does the Junction Festival provide opportunities specific to this age group to interact with the festival?
I suppose this year our Creative Clonmel projects are the ones that give opportunities to Gen Z to interact with the festival. I also think that the LIT animation project, now in its 6th year, brings in a different generation. However, that said, last year, and this is something that we have incorporated and will look at going forward, we had a huge engagement with teens through staging The Fight, which was a play by the local youth theatre Stagecraft. It had been devised as well as performed by the group. The work is by and about teens and also for them in a way that a professional theatre company's work may not be. We had a production that would have addressed this in 2020, Exit Music for Our Planet, but it has sadly become one of the many casualties of COVID artistically.
For anyone who's interested, how can they find out more about the Clonmel Junstion Arts Festival?
So our 2020 Clonmel Junstion Arts Festival, which will be a reimagined digital format with visual arts projects in the town itself, will be launched. We'll be launching our digital brochure on the 11th of June. That'll be available on our website, across social media and on our partner organisation websites. It's a real challenge this year, but it's definitely asking us to collaborate very closely, albeit at a physical distance. So you can follow us on social media platforms that you use and look us up on www.junctionfestival.com.